Hey, fellow golfers, this is Robbie from Best Ball. One of the most popular names in the golf accessory market today is Western Birch. Stop reaching in your pocket for boring plastic or plain white golf tees and elevate your game with premium wooden golf tees from Western Birch. You can customize both the hardwood and bamboo tees with one of their signature stripe patterns in a wide variety of colors. These tees are stylish enough to stand apart from the crowd, traditional enough to align with golf's heritage, and durable enough to make you forget about using anything else. Enter the code BESTBALL in the promo field in your shipping cart to add a free gift to your order. So visit westernbirch.com and get your own premium wood golf tees in the style that suits your game.
I owe a lot to the No Lane Up guys. They gave me, a couple shout outs on their podcast, which completely just exploded my requests at Bandon Dunes and gave me a lot of notoriety. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna make some signs for them for their Sweetens house, two-parter, one as a gift, but maybe we could do something with them, but not expecting anything. So I sent them off to Tron, and Tron didn't even open the box. So after a couple of weeks, I hit him up. I was like, "Hey, did you ever get that package I sent you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, it's on my desk." Like, I was like, "Okay, well, can you open it?"
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Whole Story Podcast. I am Jonathan, one of your regular hosts here, along with my buddy Robbie. Today we have, it's incredible the number of creative people involved in golf world. We've got Jason Calamaro from the Pacific Northwest, Snohomish County, in case you're wanting to do a little road trip to a shop. Jason has a place called Squid Designs. If you're on YouTube right now, if you're not on YouTube, you should probably stop and go check this out because he's got amazing wood signs built for golf. And if you're needing some things inside your rec room, great place to start. So Jason, welcome to the Whole Story Podcast.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so how did you get started in golf? Like maybe take us to where it all first began.
Just growing up, playing junior golf, playing high school golf. I was always, I played every sport that you can think of growing up, but I was always just a little bit too small once everybody started growing. So golf seemed like a fun activity to where size didn't really matter. So I kind of got into that, and I just liked the fact that I could do it on my own and I didn't need anybody else, and I could just go into my own world. And actually grew up on 5 acres. So when I started to kind of get into it, me and my brother built like 5 or 6 holes that are, little 50, 60 yard shots in our backyard. So I would get home from school and just go out there and just play in a circle basically. And then once I was old enough to go to the big course down the road, I got a job there actually washing carts, and yeah, just kind of fell in love with it from there. So
You're
Well, you
doing
said,
what Jonathan's doing now.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I've got a,
scrubbing hooks and cleaning carts.
no, I've got a little bit of land. I'm trying to create spaces. It's dialed
Oh,
in.
okay.
It's dialed in my approach wedge. Unfortunately, the rest of my clubs are still terrible, but you put me
Right.
120 yards out, I'm probably going to get close. So
That's where they say that all the money's made, right? So yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's awesome.
I
No.
still putt like garbage, so it doesn't help.
Yeah, I do too.
Well,
Yeah.
I know one of your experiences in the golf world was a caddy at the famous Bandon Dunes, somewhere Jonathan and I really want to get to. But
Yeah.
what was that experience like?
I mean, life changing, I would say. Oh, it's just such a special place. I went there first as a guest, and it's basically right before Old McDonald opened, so like late '09. And I just there was just nothing like it that I'd ever experienced. And I remember I was down in Arizona. I was working as an assistant pro down there, and I was flipping through a golf week, and I saw the ad for Bandon Dunes, and I can't remember what hole it was. It might have been something on Pacific, but I was just like, where the hell is this place? And then I was furious because it's just like literally it's 8 hours away from where I grew up, and I'd never heard of it. And I've been in the golf industry for forever and never heard of this place. A good friend of mine who worked at a country club with me down the road, we just made a plan to say, hey, we're going to do a little golf trip. So we went to Vegas and then went up to Bandon, then up to Seattle, then went over to Idaho and then back down. But Bandon was obviously the big part of it. And yeah, I just remember stepping on property and just like, whoa, like this is so different than anything I'd ever experienced in my entire life. And then I was back to work there less than a year later, like 8 or 9 months later, I was out there working. So
Not washing carts this time, right?
not washing carts, struggling to carry golf bags. I didn't realize how hard it was going to be on your body, but actually I took to it pretty quickly. In the beginning of caddying, you kind of start with one bag, but if you are somewhat good at your job, they'll just throw you in the fire and give you 2 and see how you do. And so luckily inside of a month, I would say I got 2 bags and then got some good reviews and then it was off from there. So
And then those long summer days, you get to do that twice, right?
oh yeah. Yeah. Big time. Yeah. Summertime. I mean, I would say if I was working Monday through Sunday, I would say 36, probably 4 or 5 days a week.
Oof.
I would say, yeah. And that's kind of the incentive with the resort, right? Because it's like they get you with that first tee time with the full price, but then, hey, we're going to give you half price if you go 36. So, and there's nothing else to do at Bandon. So everybody just, yeah, let's go. Let's change our socks, change our shoes, get a beer at the turn and let's go. So
Sounds like fun.
Sounds like a
yeah,
good day.
it's yeah, you guys get a chance, you definitely need to go out there and experience it. It's quite the place.
How great is that? We'll probably have to get you on like our Caddy Tales podcast too. We got some friends that up in Wisconsin, but how great is it to be able to experience those moments for people like you just described, like the first time you went there, and yet almost every day of your work week is working with somebody that for the first time they're walking onto the grounds.
Yeah, I mean, I just tried to, like I was as excited as they were, and I still feel that way. It's obviously worn off a little bit, the past 10 years or whatever, but yeah, I mean, luckily when I was there, I didn't take a caddy because I was way too poor for that, but I just remember how good our caddy was, or our group caddy, and just explaining things and telling the history and all that type of stuff. So when I started doing it, I tried to do that as well. And it's really just about an energy and just, lifting your players up, because it's a really hard golf experience, between the walking and the wind and the rain and all that type of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was awesome to be a part of people's trips and their golf experiences and all of that. Newcomers, but then you would also get people that have been there 10 years and they were still as giddy on that 10th time that they were on the first time. So Bandon was never a hard sell. Everybody was always super jacked to be there. So it was a really, really easy sell for people. So yeah.
So you're kind of living the golf dream, right? You're a PGA teaching tour, a teaching pro, and then you're a caddy at Bandon, and then
I was never a teaching. I mean, I did the assistant thing. I answered phones. I gave people golf balls. I never was a teaching pro.
No, he's being modest, folks. He helped Tiger Wood finish out a swing whenever he was rebuilding it.
Yeah, so. That's my wife's realm. She's the teaching pro. I'm a field player. I can't get technical about anything. She'll show me golf videos and show me all these things with people she's working with, and it just goes right over my head. It's not my realm.
We'll have to get her on for our next episode, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So how do you turn that into, if you're on YouTube, what's behind you there? How do you turn that into signs and designs for golf courses?
Well, so do you want the long version or the short version?
Either one's good.
Okay. So in late 19, Neil Schuster from the No Lane Up guys reached out to me, and I had met those guys a couple of years prior. Got lucky enough to caddy for them out at Bandon Dunes. And Neil hit me up and he's like, "Hey, we want to do a coffee table for the Sweetens Cove house." And so, because he had followed me on Instagram and seen some, because I would do wood projects in the wintertime just to occupy my time. So anyways, he reached out to me and I was like, hell yeah, that sounds great. And then my wife was actually training in New Zealand. So I flew out there and met her there. And then this thing called COVID was starting to pop up on the radio, people making fun of it. Anyway, we fly back, world shuts down. So I just got to focus on this coffee table for like 2 months because Bandon Dunes shut down and all of that. And then at the time as well, I was kind of dealing with some lower back pain and some like sciatic issues, which part of it was caddying, but a lot of it was me driving back and forth because I would spend 2 weeks in Bandon and I would come up to Seattle for a week and I would do that drive. It's like 9 hours every couple of weeks. So it was just a nagging feeling. So anyway, once we opened back up, I just hit the ground running and worked as hard as I ever have in my entire life. With the thought was we're going to get shut down any day now. So, it's how you make money. So you need to figure this out. So I basically killed myself that entire year and just hurt myself. So by the end of the year, I could hardly even move. I could barely walk from my bedroom to the bathroom without stopping. And the worst part was I couldn't sleep either because as soon as I would lay down, it would get worse. So I was only getting 45 minutes of sleep at a time. Anyway, so it became apparent that I wasn't going to be able to caddy much longer, or at least in the short term, like that wasn't going to happen. So I'm sitting at my kitchen table and I'm just racking my brain. It's like, okay, what do you like to do? What do you enjoy doing? And then I thought back to the coffee table project and was like, well, that was a lot of fun. I got to be creative and got to, basically design this thing from nothing. And then, so I started scrolling the internet and I just randomly came across these like rustic wooden signs that I thought looked pretty cool. I was like, well, that seems pretty simple. And so I was like, well, and I owe a lot to the No Lane Up guys. They gave me, a couple shout outs in their podcast, which completely just exploded my requests at Bandon Dunes and gave me a lot of notoriety. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make some signs for them for their Sweetens house, two-parter, one as a gift, but maybe we could do something with them, but not expecting anything. So I sent them off to Tron and Tron, didn't even open the box. So after a couple of weeks, I hit him up. I was like, hey, did you ever get that package I sent you? And he's like, oh yeah, it's on my desk. I was like, okay, well, can you open it? Anyways, check them out. Tell me what you think. So he opened it up. He's like, hey, these are sweet. Let's jump on a call. So I jumped on a call with him and Neil and they're like, okay, sweet. Let's do this. Let's do that. We got these suggestions. Let's order 100 signs. And I'm like, awesome. Sounds great. I hang up the phone and I'm super jacked, but then the sinking feeling of like, oh shit, now I need to make these things. I only made 6 the first time and it took me like a couple weeks. How the hell am I going to make 100 of these signs? Because I had like nothing planned, no process, no nothing. So then I was like, okay, well, I just need to figure this out. So I went through the process of like, okay, this is how they're made and this is how I can make it faster. And this is, just put everything together. But I was doing everything at home. So, it was all in the garage. It was in the kitchen. It was in the living room. And so I went through the process of making those signs, which was a complete nightmare, and actually had to do them twice, which I could, it was a pivotal moment because at the time I sat there for like 15 minutes and I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I'm just going to call Tron and just say, hey man, I can't do this. I'm sorry. But for some reason I was just like, nope, you said you were going to do this. You're going to finish. So, went through the process and finished them. And then when I was doing those, it was like, well, kind of feeling a bit arrogant. It's like, hey, you just got the #1 podcast out there. Maybe you could shoot for Bandon. Bandon doesn't have anything like this. Maybe they would, maybe they would do this. And half of me is like, you're a f***ing idiot. And then the other half is like, maybe, you know, you never know. So I DM'd the head of merch, Chad Turner at Bandon Dunes on Instagram, actually. It was like, hey, I'm working on this thing for No Laying Up. I made some Bandon samples. Like, would you be interested in seeing them? Again, completely thinking he's just gonna write back and say no, or, you know, that's cute, but no, basically. But to my surprise, he reached back out and was like, yeah, I'd love to see what you have, what you're working on, or, you know, whatever. So, so we set a meeting and we met up, and again, going into the meeting, expecting him just to pat me on the head and just say, nice try, but no, you know, this isn't going to work. But to my surprise, he liked the idea and he had a few suggestions, and yeah, put in an order. And I just remember leaving that meeting, walking down that, you guys haven't been there, but just walking down the aisle between the pro shop and heading to McKee's Pub and just being like, holy shit, I think my life just changed. So, so yeah, that's basically the genesis of it, and kind of just been one happy mistake after the next. So, yeah.
What's been the biggest surprise as you've grown this thing? Because you know you look everywhere, and you know you look in the background of your video now, and you know the who's who of courses are up on your
Yeah.
wall. But what's been the biggest surprise as you've grown this?
The people say yes. Um, you know, in the beginning, like I have a sales rep now, which is very, very fresh, and I don't have to deal with cold emailing people. But yeah, just people responding to emails, like, and in the beginning too, like I just had my normal email, like I didn't have a business email or nothing. It was just cold emailing or hitting people up on Instagram. But yeah, I mean, just the fact that people said yes. I mean, that's basically been the biggest surprise, especially in the beginning days of like what our signs looked like and what the materials were and all of that. Like it's been evolving over the years, but um yeah, like I look at some of those early projects and I just cringe because it's like, man, I can't believe somebody bought this, but they were nice enough to take a chance on us, and yeah. So yeah, I would say that's the biggest surprise that they said yes.
I think we know that feeling, right? I mean, you mentioned
Yeah.
earlier, like, hey, listen to you guys' podcast. They're like, oh, and he said yes. That's weird.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, you know, it's just one of those things. I go into every situation and every email and all that expecting a flat out no. Um, so when expectations are low and it actually happens, it feels pretty good. So yeah.
So at this point, I'm assuming you've got some courses that are reaching out to you, right?
And that's been the other nice thing, yeah, is me not having to try to track down the girl at the dance, you know, like, yeah, sometimes they're coming our way, which is nice. It's a lot less energy when they send you the email and you not have to send 10 emails their way to finally get a yes. So yeah. Yeah.
Now I've seen, you know, obviously you've done courses and their logos and things, but I've seen uh, some signs where you've done, you know, so and so course champion or tournament champion. Are you getting
Mhm.
requests for, you know, smaller orders, individual tournament champion, things like that?
Yeah, a lot of like a lot of golf groups and those kind of things. Like when I first started, like trophies and like those kind of things, that wasn't even on my radar. That was a total surprise when people was like, "Hey, we want to do a you know, flight winner sign, or we want to do this." Like I didn't even think of that in the early stages, but yeah, there's actually been quite a bit of those. Again, back to No Lane Up, a lot of their nest groups all over the country have been ordering a few things. And yeah, so, and I love it. I love those kind of requests and those kind of things, because it gives me a chance to be a little bit creative and work with different logos. And yeah, it's awesome. Love it.
That's really cool. Well, it's neat to see, and we're excited. We'll ask in a second maybe what's next, but we
Sure.
always try to get good golf stories from people, and you obviously
Yeah.
grew up playing and stuff, but and
Hmm.
if you've heard the podcast, thank you. We
Yep.
always ask, what's your most memorable golf shot?
Mm. So I've been thinking about this because I knew this question was coming. Um, so are we looking for like hole in ones, or are we looking for like embarrassing moments, or we kind of just whatever?
It,
Completely up to you.
yeah, it's up to you. Golf, I mean, golf stories, right? Like, imagine sitting around
Yeah.
at the pub afterwards, and it's like, I got to tell you
Right.
about this shot. Like,
Right.
that's the stories we love hearing.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, I'm going to give you two because I think, kind of the yin and the yang. So one, I think it was like my second season of caddying, and the PNGA, which is like the Pacific Northwest Golf Association, their amateur was at Bandon Dunes, and I had played in it that week. And then like the next day I was caddying and just getting back to work basically. And we get on the 16th hole of Bandon Dunes, and if you've ever seen pictures of it, I mean, it's just the most magical hole on the planet. And the other caddy that was in the group was asking me about the tournament and how to go and this and that. And I played well enough to get into match play. And then I lost to Dylan Wu, actually, who's on tour now. Um, he was like 13 at the time, just kicked my ass. But anyway, so they're like, hey, the group's like, hey, we've been hearing about, how good you are, blah, blah, blah. And I was like a 1 or 2 handicap at the time, wasn't that good. But anyway, they're like, we want to see you hit a shot. We want to see you hit a shot. I was just like, okay, yeah, no worries. You've been carrying 2 bags for a few hours, you're not very flexible. So I jumped up there, grabbed a driver and grabbed the whole thing. And I get up there and, at Bandon Dunes, you're wearing your full whites, or like you're wearing the jumpsuit. And the problem with swinging in whites is they're a little constrictive. So when I went back and down, the the jumpsuit basically caught me and made me go up a little bit, and I literally hit it off the heel and went right between my legs and behind me. Um, so embarrassing. And then and I was like, okay, I got to do, I can't go out like that. I'm gonna, give me one more chance. And I literally did it 2 times in a row, put my head down and just, you know, threw
Never
the
mind.
club in the bag. And yeah, I was just like, never, ever again am I going to do that. So, okay. And then on the flip side, I was caddying. I think this might have been the same year or the next year. So I'm caddying in this group, and we get to the 10th hole at Pacific Dunes, and it's the upper tee and par three down the hill. And they're like, "Hey, caddy challenge." Everybody was having a good time. A lot of drinks were flowing. It was a great time. Typical Bandon Dunes day. But they're like, "Caddy challenge, caddy challenge. We want you guys to hit." I was like, "Okay, fine." So I took my whites, or I took the top off, tied it around my waist, and the caddy that was with me, Donnie, he's really, really good player. He just hits a little baby draw, hits it to like 10 feet. Really good shot into the wind. And so I step up there, grab a 6 iron, just took a little shot and just hit a little knuckleball, just dead into the wind, straight at it. And at the time, the sun was kind of setting, so the green was pretty shiny, and just a one hop and went right in. Um, Donnie lost it, the group lost it, and yeah, that was pretty crazy. I mean, I could have told them anything from there on, and they would have believed me because yeah, I was like the messiah at that time. So that was a cool memory. Yeah, so one super embarrassing, one good one.
Yeah, the
So
first group didn't listen to you the rest of the day. And the second group, you call them right now and they'd be like, okay, I'll do just that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
yeah,
you got caddy bragging rights, right? Like those guys are walking down talking to their buddies like our caddy's
yeah.
better than your caddy.
Yeah, well, and it's funny at the time, like you weren't allowed to hit golf shots. Like it was a really strict caddy program. You can basically do whatever you want now. But I'm walking by the office the next day, and the old caddy master, Ken, he had a really distinct voice, but he's just like Squid in the office. I was like, oh shit. So I go into the office and I just poke my head in. I was like, yeah, what's going on? He's like, heard you ace 10 yesterday. I was like, yes, sir. He's like, nice.
Yeah.
I was just like, thanks. And I just got the hell out of the office and left. But yeah, that was a good time. Yeah.
Man,
That's
what a
awesome.
great story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's jump into our quick nine. You've heard this before, but it's kind of a rapid
Yeah.
fire, but you can elaborate as much as you want. So first question,
Sure.
and maybe it's one of the Bandon ones. Maybe we just change it up. What's your favorite course at Bandon Dunes?
Oh, well, that's a loaded question. Well, by far my happy place on this planet is the Preserve. I love that par three course. A lot of great memories there. And actually, me and my wife got married just down the beach from the resort, and then we did all of our wedding pictures and played the Preserve in all of our get up. And then I actually proposed not too far from there as well. So that place has a special place in my heart there. But I would say it's a toss up between Trails and Old Mac. And the reason I say Old Mac is because like 2010 Old Mac, when it was firm and fast and like fescue everywhere, it was just so much fun. And Trails was the same thing. So, you know, I would say probably Trails. Trails is the best design in my opinion. It's just flawless, but
Yeah.
I mean, they're all amazing in their own way. But I would say Trails.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the no laying up guys and giving credit to them. I'll give a shout
Yeah.
out. They don't know us, and we've never chatted with them, but just
Mhm.
recently went back and watched Tourist Sauce where they were at
Yeah.
Bandon, and
Mhm.
they do such great work on their videos, and
Oh
so
yeah.
highly
Yeah.
recommend that one, especially if you want to see some of the courses like never
Yeah.
before.
Yep. 100%. Well, and you'll see a familiar face as well.
I know. I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a fun surprise that year because I think they were supposed to go to Scotland or they were supposed to go somewhere else, but COVID and that killed it. And yeah, Neil hit me up and was like, "Hey, we're coming into town." And it was just like with everything that was happening that year with COVID and with just the world coming to an end, it was just like, man, that was a ray of sunshine in a dark time. So yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Sounds good. What is your bucket list course?
Bucket list course. That's a good question. I don't know. I would say maybe not a specific course, but like I need to go to Scotland and I need to do Ireland before I go. That's been on the list for a number of years. I was about half a beer away, about just or like in 19 on booking a trip. I was sitting at my computer, you know, had a few beers after work, and I was just like, man, let's go. I didn't do it. I didn't pull the trigger. It would have got canceled anyway because COVID was the next year. But yeah, I would say not a specific course, but I want to see Scotland. I want to do Ireland the correct way, and I just need to get into a few courses over there so I can just make it a business trip.
That'd be
Yeah.
a good trip. All right.
Yep.
So you mentioned handing out Squid Design, let's say trophies
Yeah.
or signs that say champion.
Mhm.
If you could pick one major that would hand out a Squid Design championship sign, which would it be?
I mean, you're talking majors, you said?
Yeah. Can you imagine like Masters? Here's your green jacket. Here's your sign.
Yeah. Here's your jacket. Here's your sign. Um, I mean, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, I not even so much like the trophy thing, but it would be a dream come true to get into the merch building at the Masters. That would be incredible. The USGA would be a close second. British Open would be pretty cool. But yeah, I would say it's a toss up between the Masters and the US Open for sure.
You just need to start shipping them. I've got the address.
Yes. Well, and
Jonathan will
that,
just drive them over.
Yeah, we'll drive them over. You give him to me, we'll just drive him over.
Trust me. I know exactly who the guy is, and I've DM'd him, I've emailed, I've done all I can, but I have actually had a decent amount of success in just sending stuff. Like, you're not going to respond to me, but I'm going to make it and I'm going to send it your way, and you're going to hold it in your hand.
Work your way through the back end and go through the anwa.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, it's one of those things that it wouldn't surprise me if something like that happened. I mean, it's been nothing short of a miracle that we've gotten this far. So why not just keep going? So yeah, Anwa could be cool. Anybody's listening, let's go.
All right. So who would be in your dream foursome?
So my wife did a podcast like 6 months ago, and I wasn't even included in her foursome, so she's out. But I would say, I think Arnie would be in that group. I think he would just be unbelievable to be a part of that. I think Tiger would probably be in that as well. I just want to see him shape shots all day. And who else? Maybe Rory. Rory would be fun to hang out with. Yeah, I would say that'd be fair. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we mentioned you got a pretty sweet hat on there. Who would be the pro golfer that you would pick to wear the Squid Design hat on tour?
PGA Tour, not Live Golf, right?
Yeah, whoever.
Whoever.
Shit. It's a good question.
Tiger just signed with somebody, so he's probably off the market for a while.
Yeah. What do you guys think of that what do you think of that new logo?
A lot of questions. It could be better.
Yeah, could be better. There's definitely a few people that I would have gone to. Like, there's so many niche little logo designers out there that would have killed it. Anyway, sorry, back to your question. Let's go Max Homa. That would be pretty cool. I almost got to meet him out at Bandon Dunes. We were texting a little bit because Tron connected us, and I didn't get a chance to caddy for him. But yeah, let's say Max. That'd be good.
Nice.
What is your favorite snack on the course?
Well, I can't say a burger dog because I've never had one. I'd say just a classic PB&J. That's good enough for me. And you got to wait till it's been smashed in a little bit. Yeah, classic PB&J. That's good enough for me.
All right. You don't have to answer this one because you are in the logo business, but do you have a favorite golf course logo?
I would say it's a toss up between Wildwood up in Portland, the Yeti. Have you guys seen that one?
Mm-mm.
It's awesome. But I would say it's a toss up between that and the Tree Farm swinging. I was lucky enough to do a project with them last month or so. That's such a sick logo. I love that. Yeah, I would say it's a toss up between Wildwood and Tree Farm. Yeah.
Yep. We know Seth McWhorter, who's done some logos for them, and he's really good.
Oh, okay. So that's the guy I'm thinking of.
McWhorter Creative.
Tiger should have hit him up, and he would have knocked that out of the park for sure.
He would have crushed it.
Yeah, that'd been awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously you had the prestigious people reaching out to you every once in a while, but what has been the most random request so far?
Most random request. I would say the most random one, and it wasn't even a request, but the one that I was completely shocked was Torrey Pines. That one was like, I can't believe you guys emailed me back. Like, who knew? And being such a fan, I remember watching the US Open with Tiger and, staying up for days on end watching that one. So that one was pretty cool, but yeah, that was a big surprise to see that response back I had to look at it a couple of times. Like, yeah, it says Torrey Pines. Like, okay, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's great. Well, we've talked about the signs you've done for courses and for tournaments. So our final
Yeah.
question, what's next for Squid Designs?
Just to keep building and keep getting into different places. We're going to be doing a bunch of stuff for Sand Valley this year, so that's going to be exciting. That's been 3 years in the making, I want to say. So that one's coming, and then yeah, just a couple others. There's one course out in Ireland that's kind of knocking at the door, so we'll see how that goes. And then maybe some Cabot courses, we'll see. So it's starting to spread off into outside of the US, which is great. And yeah, I kind of called it early, or like middle of last year. It was like 24 is going to be a big year, and it's starting to come true. So yeah, more stuff to come, more products. I'm starting to dabble into possibly coming out with some other stuff, because people are like, okay, cool, you make signs, but what else can you make? It's like, well, I'm just perfecting these. But yeah, so possibly some more products. I got to dial those in a little bit better and make sure that they're ready for market. But yeah, just keep going and grind it out, and yeah, hopefully get into more places, and more people see these, the more it's gonna catch the eye. And PGA show next year, I'm calling that one as well. I got a lot of people reaching out this year, like, why are you not there? Are you going to be there? And I'm calling it 2025. We will be there.
We'll get a booth next to each other.
Yeah, we'll come. We'll meet you there.
I love it. Bring the podcast recording equipment, and we'll just have a few beers and chat it up.
That sounds great.
Perfect. Well, listener, if you aren't impressed already, you have to go check this out. Obviously, most of this is visual. You can go to squid-designs.com. If you haven't already paused this and gone to @SquidDesigns on Instagram, I'm not sure what you're doing, because it's incredible. Jason, really appreciate you getting on. The creativity is amazing. Hey, listener, if your favorite course at home doesn't have one yet, make sure to go to the club, talk to them, give them the information, reach out to Jason, and see what they can do for your local spot too. So for Robbie, I am Jonathan, and this has been the Whole Story Podcast.